Hey guys, Dawn here. I'm so glad you could join me. I'm here with another Christmas card for you. I'm calling it a clean and simple card because it looks pretty clean and it's super easy to make. I'm using the Whimsy Stamps Decorated Tree die. I love this die so much. You can do lots of things with it, and I'm actually really sad because this has made it onto the Whimsy Stamps last chance list. That means they still have a bunch in stock, but they're not going to be reordering them anymore. So when they're gone, they're gone. So if you ever thought of getting this die, now is the time to get it. This is a 12-piece die set, and it comes with everything you need to make a Christmas tree. I've used this die so many times to make so many different types of cards and gift tags. It's extremely versatile because you can make so many different size trees from it because each piece of the tree can be used by itself. You'll see what I mean when I make this card. I'm pairing it up with the Whimsy Stamps Tartan pattern paper, which I absolutely love for Christmas. You get two of each sheet, and both sides of the paper has patterns on it. And for me, that's always a tough one because I love all pattern paper and I can never decide which side to use. I'll be using a few other products as well, but for now, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is select the die that I want to use for my Christmas tree. I'm going to use the top of the tree. This is the smallest die, but it can be used by itself, not just for the top of the tree. You'll see when I die cut it, it looks just like a tiny little tree. I'm also going to use the small bow die to cut out 3 gold bows for the tops of the trees. So I went ahead and picked out 3 different pattern paper that I liked, and then I cut them out. I'm just going to set them aside for later. Wait until you see how quick this card comes together. Next, I'm going to use the Wonky Stitch rectangle die. I'm going to use the 2 largest rectangles, and I'm going to emboss them onto the paper rather than die cut them. Okay, I'm going to place the largest die onto my A2 size card base, and I'm going to tape it down so that it doesn't move around. And then I'm going to run it through my Spellbinder Platinum 6 machine. I'm going to be using the universal plate system, which makes embossing with dies so much easier. You get all these different plates with them, and they all have letters on them to tell you what type of sandwich to make depending on what you're doing. I'm going to be embossing with dies, so I'm going to follow the directions for the embossing with dies. So the sandwich that we will need is the base plate first, and you can see the directions are right here on the plate. And then we're going to need the B plate. Now I'm going to turn the B plate upside down because it has a raised center to add a little more pressure where the rollers are, and I found it left an indent on my paper. You can also put the embossing mat down next if you want to instead of turning the B plate over. Then I'm placing my cardstock with the die on it face down, then adding the E, the embossing mat, and then D, the adapter plate. Then I'm going to run it through my die cut machine really quick, but I'm going to go halfway because I don't need to emboss anything on the other side of the paper, and I don't want to make any marks on my paper because sometimes that can happen. It shouldn't make any marks, but I want to be safe. I'm just going to disassemble my sandwich, and I want to show you what I mean about the B plate. See how the center of it is raised? Well, if you follow the manufacturer's directions for the sandwich, it left indents on my paper. That's what I found. So that's why I turned it upside down. Anyone else find it leaves indents on their paper? I've seen other people switch up the sandwich, and that's what I'm going to try next time. I went ahead and embossed the smaller die in the middle of a piece of white cardstock. Then I'm going to trim it down. I'm cutting off any excess right up to the embossed edge. I didn't want to die cut it because I wanted the smaller paper to match the embossed edge of the base card that I did. So now this way both of the edges will match. I adhere a piece of white craft foam to the back of the smaller rectangle, And then I'm going to adhere it onto the card base so it has a raised center. I'm going to adhere the gold bows onto the tops of the trees. I found for me, if I just put a little small dot of liquid glue and then pick the bow up with my jewel picker, it made it go much quicker. And it was easier to put the bows in place. I really like this jewel picker. I have different ones, but I keep coming back to this one for some reason. When it doesn't stick that well anymore, I just wet the top a little to clean it and then it works perfectly again. I went ahead and put foam tape on the back of the trees, and I'm not going to press them down in place just yet. I want to wait until I have them in the right spot. I normally add liquid glue to the back of my foam tape so I can move the images around, but this time I thought it would be easy to line these up, so I didn't do it. I probably should have though, because I did move them around a little bit. And then once I have them in place where I want them to go, I just press them down. I'm using the Merry Christmas sentiment from the vintage Poinsettia. I rub my paper with my embossing powder bag and then I stamp it with some Versamark ink. I pour gold embossing powder on it, and when my heat tool is good and hot, I just heat the sentiment. I trimmed the sentiment down and put foam tape on the back of it, and then I adhered it to the front of the card. And to finish off the card, I'm using my favorite confetti, the gold flat back beads from This Calls for Confetti. I put a few of them on the trees for accent, and then I adhere them in place with my jewel picker and glue. I love how this card came out. I think this card is kind of primitive looking, which I love that. It's so quick and easy to make. You can make them in bulk to send out for Christmas if you wanted to. I will definitely be making more of them to send out for my cards this year. Remember, this die is on the last chance list, so if you want to get it, make sure you order it before it sells out. They will not be ordering more of them. I want to thank you for joining me on the Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel. I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the card. Be sure to subscribe to the Whimsy Stamps channel and their other social media platforms so you don't miss out on any upcoming releases and great inspirational videos. Also, check out their website for all their new releases. And as always, I want to thank you for spending your time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.